Good afternoon and welcome to St Martin in the Fields and welcome to this week's Great Sacred Music. John Henry Newman was an influential churchman of the 19th century. He started life as an evangelical, later becoming part of the Oxford movement, which sought to recover from the Church of England its high church ideals. But he preached his last Anglican sermon at Littlemore in 1843. In 1845, he was received into the Roman Catholic Church, which was a great shock to his followers. He was canonized by the Pope in 2019. A writer on religious history and doctrine, Newman was celebrated for the quality of his thought and his powerful command of prose. He was a popular preacher, a renowned theologian, and a poet whose works have endured long after his time. His Dream of Gerontius, of which we'll hear a little bit later on, was set to music by Sir Edward Elgar. His hymns Lead Kindly Light and Praise the Holiest in the Height regularly appear in the top hymns in multiple different hymn books. And so today we're exploring musical settings of the poems and hymns of John Henry Newman. So we began just now with a choral setting of Lead Kindly Light, and now it's time for our first hymn together, which you'll find on the inside of your sheet, Firmly I Believe and Truly, which is from part 1 of Newman's Dream of Gerontius. In this poem, Gerontius feels that death is near and prays to affirm his faith. His prayer, "Have pity, O my judge, spare me, O Lord," is interspersed with this poem, Firmly I Believe and Truly, which sets out the traditional belief in the Holy Trinity, the incarnation of Christ, and the authority of the Church. So we'll remain seated as the voices stand and lead, Firmly I Believe and Truly. Sir Edward William Elgar was one of the most preeminent English composers of the 20th century, among whose best-known compositions are orchestral works including the Enigma Variations, the Pomp and Circumstance Marches, concertos for violin and cello, and 2 symphonies. At the age of 16, the composer became a freelance musician, and interestingly, for the remainder of his life, he never took a permanent job. In 1899, he composed perhaps his best-known work, the Enigma Variations, which catapulted him to fame. As well as the orchestral work, Elgar wrote a large quantity of church music and also part songs. There at Rest was written in 1909, an elegy for unaccompanied chorus, which sets words by Newman. It was written in response to a commission from Sir Walter Parrott for an anthem to be sung on the anniversary of Queen Victoria's death, and it was first performed at the Royal Mausoleum at Frogmore on the 22nd of January 1910. Next, another piece by Elgar, Be Merciful, Be Gracious, which is part one of the Dream of Gerontius, which he composed in 1900. Elgar wrote to a friend of this piece, I think you will find Gerontius far beyond anything I've yet done. I like it. I'm not suggesting that I've risen to the heights of the poem for one moment, but on our hillside, night after night, I've seen in thought the soul go up, and have written my own heart's blood into the score. But Elgar was upset by the first poor performance of the work, and he wrote, Providence denies me a decent hearing of my work, so I submit. I always said God was against art, and I still believe it. My heart is now shut against every religious feeling and every soft, gentle impulse forever. Well, that is quite a strong reaction to a first performance. As I said, Be Merciful, Be Gracious is from part one of the work, in which Gerontius expresses his fear of death, singing of a sense of ruin, which is worse than pain. The chorus of assistants or friends beseech his rescue, and in plain chant recite the names of those to whom aid God has come, before Gerontius dies mid-prayer as a man of faith. After that, we'll be singing a piece by the composer John Joubert. It's an original text. It's not an original text by Newman, but it's a prayer written by St. Ambrose, who was born in Trier in Germany around 340 AD. St. Ambrose was largely responsible for the rise of Christianity in the West as the Roman Empire declined, and he was a courageous and untiring defender of the independence of the church from the state. It's a hymn for Pentecost, which was subsequently translated by Newman. Come, Holy Ghost, whoever one art with the Father and the Son. So Elgar be merciful, followed by a Whitsun carol by John Juba.
Gracious
Arvo Pärt is an Estonian composer who writes in a minimalist style while taking inspiration from Gregorian chant. In the 1970s, he converted from Lutheranism to Russian Orthodoxy. He was allowed to emigrate in 1980 with his wife and 2 sons, first to Vienna and then to Berlin. First performed by the choir of St. Martin's, Pärt's Little More Tractus has the feel of an elongated Anglican hymn. It was commissioned by Reverend Bernard Newman, the vicar of the church where Newman lived in Littlemore and former assistant priest here at St. Martin's, to commemorate the anniversary of Newman's birth. And it was first performed on the 21st of February 2001. Little More Tractus is based on the final lines of one of Newman's most famous sermons, Wisdom and Innocence, given on the 19th of February 1843 in Littlemore. This short text has become a famous one. It's also used in Anglican funeral liturgy and has been translated into many different languages. So it's nearly time to sing our second hymn together, which you'll find on the inside of your sheet. The hymn Praise the Holiest is one segment extracted from a far longer poem. In this case, again, the Dream of Gerontius, made known, as we've mentioned before, through Elgar's famous oratorio. But here we sing it to a hymn tune by John Bacchus Dykes. Praise the Holiest is, in fact, the fifth section of a 35-verse hymn. You'll be pleased to know that we won't be singing all 35 verses today. So you'll find on the inside of your sheet, Praise the Holiest in the Heights, and we'll omit verses 3 and 4. So sing verses 1, 2, 5, and 6. We'll remain seated as the voices stand and lead. What's interesting about that hymn, if you sing all 35 verses of it, which will probably take a good 15 minutes, is that it describes the whole story of the human fall from the state of grace through the story of Adam, through to be banishing east of the Garden of Eden, through to the story of human redemption, through Jesus' death and resurrection. It really does tell the whole story of the Bible. So, thank you for joining us for Great Sacred Music for today. On your way out, there's an opportunity to donate to a retiring collection, which really helps us as we grow and build the music programme here at St Martin's. If you haven't got cash, don't worry, there's no escape. On the back of your sheet, there's different ways to give, from text message giving to QR codes to a link to our website. Please do come back to Great Sacred Music. It takes place every Thursday, has done for the past 11 years, I think it is, and will do until eternity. Every Thursday at 1 o'clock, both in the building, but also live streamed on our stmartins.digital platform. So wherever you are in the world, there is no escape. Please do also join us every Sunday at 3:15 for Choral Classics, which is our programme of words and music introduced each week by a different member of St Martin's Voices. So we began Great Sacred Music with a setting of Newman's poem, Lead Kindly Light. And we're also going to end it with a setting of the same poem. It was originally titled The Pillar of the Cloud, which was first published in the British magazine in 1834. And here it is in a setting by the contemporary British composer Howard Goodall from his Requiem. Thanks for joining us.